early and you're late if you're on time. So we want to go ahead and get things rolling. We want to take advantage of those who have come on the call early. And we also want to take advantage of the time of Rom and Mike that they're sharing with us this evening. Mike and Rom, if you're there, you guys can go ahead and introduce yourselves. I'll let you guys take the privilege of doing that, running through the disclaimers. I'm going to step back into the shadows, and the show is yours.
Good evening, everyone.
How's everybody doing? I'm Michael Edwards, one of the captains of AUD and the elite member of Powerhouse. And we're going to show you a great product that we've been using for the last couple months called Flexi Grid and how to do grid trading. So just to see what our lovely faces look like, I'm Michael at the top, and the pretty blonde is Rom. Let's go over the legal disclosures.
Do we read the disclaimers, or will we just have them on the screen for a while?
I don't think we need the disclaimers, but we will like for those that are on the calls to take a few minutes and read through the disclaimers, and then we'll go straight from there, guys.
Okay, so basically what we will cover tonight is like two subjects. What is grid trading and what is Flexi Grid? And while we are covering grid trading, we will also cover the 21 grid trade. And on Flexi side, we will go through installation examples and some advanced examples on how to use Flexi Grid as a tool. Right? So in general, what is grid trading? So basically what it is, it's placing multiple entries at a click of a button, if we could say so, in order to maximize the profits. And as I have on this slide, grid trading is a technique in which a trader enters a position not in one go, but in a sequence of orders. And usually that could be, in general, what is... sorry, I could hear my echo. So usually these are entered as a stop or limit orders at certain regular intervals above or below the current price level. Such buy and sell orders, generally spaced at 10 or 15, it could be 5 or whatever, pip intervals, create a trading grid. So why do we want to do grid trading? Now, we have a little caution over here, because the grid trading strategy is not recommended for all traders, as it requires quite a bit of practice and can turn out to be risky if the trader does not understand how to use the grid. Now, the grid-based trading system can be used to maximize the returns from the trades. Basically, what we do in that order is we want to catch more pips for the same move of the trend.
Hey, Rom.
Yes?
Real quick, I didn't mean to cut you off. Can you put your screen on presentation mode so that it's bigger for everyone to see?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks. So basically what you have to keep in mind, since it's multiple entries, you have to keep in mind that you will have to pay spread. And if you are paying commission to your broker as well, you have to take that into account, because each entry will have that. Okay. Now, here we have an example of what grid trading looks like. In here I have AUD, CAD, and as you can see, we have a few entry levels. And now we can interpret it this way. This is not a real example, it's just a visual to see it better. The grid or levels can be based on traders' preference. So for example, on this particular currency pair, we might have a 10 pip grid with 6 levels, and it could be used with buy stop orders. Let's say if we enter the price at this level somewhere and we place extra levels, extra entries, we might end up with getting 210 pips for 60 pips move. And this is the math behind that. It's 60 plus 50 plus 40 plus 30, 20, and 10. That would equal 210 pips per 60 pips move. Also, not looking at this picture, but you can imagine we might have 5 pip grid with 4 levels, and that could be used with sell stop orders if the trend is moving down. In that case, we would get 50 pips of profit for 20 pips move, and also the math behind it is 20 plus 15, 10, and 5 equals 50 pips. Now, you can also have, let's say, a 10 pips grid with 2 levels above the current price and below the current price, and if it's above, it's buy stop orders. If below the current price, sell stop orders. And they can be placed at one, let's say, one click of a button. Let's say if we don't know the direction that the trend is gonna move, is it gonna move up or is it gonna move down? But we will show that with some examples so we have a clear visual understanding of that. But now let's go to 21 grid trade, and you probably have heard about it. It's the one that Clint is teaching. All right, so let's see what is 21 grid trade. This is a true example. So now, before entering the trade, we have to know, like, we might need to guess the direction to which the trend is gonna move. So basically, before entering a grid, we have to decide the direction of the market move. In this particular example, we think that the trend is gonna move up. So we enter into a long trade. Now, when we do that, market execution is placed over here. I don't know if you can see it. It's a green line and it says buy. That's market execution order. Okay, so now we place 3 levels below as buy limit orders, and we place 3 orders above as buy stop orders. Now what happens is, if the trend moves opposite the desired direction, it triggers the limit orders by giving extra pips when moving back to the desired direction. And I will show that on the next slide, how we break it, okay? So basically, as Clint says, it's a very forgiving strategy. And now let's break it down so we have a clearer understanding how it happens. So as an example, we have a sell trade, we are going short, and we're doing 21 grid trade. So what happens is, in the middle, you see the green line, we have the entry point, and what happens if the trend is moving actually our desired direction, moving down for 7 pips? What happens is, at 7 pips point, we have take profit 1. So we might take profit 1 over here for 7 pips, or we may let the trend run longer and move another 7 pips. So that means it will trigger this second entry. And by the time it reaches this zone, the original entry from here, it would make 14 pips. Sorry, how do I go back now? So the original entry would make 14 pips move, and the second entry that we entered over here would make another 7 pips move. So that would be 21 pips in total, even though the trend moved 14 pips. Now, if the trend keeps moving further and it moves another 7 pips over here, what happens is from the original entry we have 21 pips move. From the second, from this entry we have 14 pips move up to this level. And from this third entry, we would have another extra 7 pips move. So that would give us 42 pips move. Originally, it's called 21 grid trade because we are going for 21 pips in 14 pips move. Now, what happens if the trend is going against us? We went short, but the trend is actually moving up. So in that case, what happens, let's say it moves 7 pips against us. It moves up here. It's going 7 pips negative. Let's say it turns around somewhere over here. So what happens then is that the original entry becomes 0, breaks even, but it has activated this level of entry, so that would give us 7 pips. So in this case, the trade is going against us 7 pips, but by the time it comes back to break even on the first entry, we already are 7 pips positive because it has activated this second entry. What happens if the trend is going 14 pips against us? Over here, at this moment, it would be 14 pips negative on our original entry, and it would be 7 pips negative on the second entry. That means it would be 21 pips negative, but by the time it comes back to break even with our original entry, we already would have 14 pips with our third entry. The second entry would have 7 pips positive, and the original entry would be at break even. So that would be 14 plus 7, that's 21 pips in profit. The same goes if we are going long and the trend is going against us and it goes down first and then comes back to buy. We also get those pips by the time it comes back to break even. We already would have 21 pips if it went 14 pips from the original entry against us. And as we can see over here, we have take profit 1 as 7 pips, then take profit 2 after another 7 pips is 21 pips, and if we are going for take profit 3, that's already 42 pips. And now I will do a live presentation showing how to install Flexi Grid tool to make it easier to execute 21 grid trades. Okay, Michael, can you drop that link that I gave you in the chat on Facebook so everyone can follow me what I'm doing? Okay. Now you should see my browser. So basically this link, we will drop it in the Facebook chat and maybe we can pin it so people have access to it. So once you go to this link, you will see Forex Factory forum, all right? And you have to make sure that you see the post that is number 486. You can see the number over here on the right-hand side. Now, on this post, you will see attached file, and it's called Flexi Grid 1.9.ex4. What you need to do is you need to download this file to your local machine. It could be your Mac, it could be your PC. Now, in my case, I would right-click and go Save Link As. Now, bear in mind that you do not need to open the file. If you try to open the file, you will get a message that your machine is not able to open it because you don't have the software. What kind of software would you like to use to open the file? All you have to do is save it to your local machine. Okay, so I will click Save Link As. Now I have to select the desired location and I will save it on my desktop so it's easier for me to find it. And I click Save. At this moment, I will minimize my browser. As you can see, I have Flexi Grid 1.9.ex4 on my desktop. What I need to do next is I open my MT4 station over here. All I have to do is go to File, Open Data Folder. Then I go to MQL4 folder. And then you will see Experts folder in there. What I need to do now is I need to copy this Flexi file inside this folder. In my case, I will just drag it over here, release, and as you can see, now it's inside this folder. I can close it for now, and I go back to my MT4 machine. Now over here, on the left-hand side, you have to click this yellow navigator icon if it's not there, okay, because you have to see this menu. And what you have to do is where you see Experts Advisors, you right-click on that and go Refresh. After that, you will see that Flexi Grid 1.9 is on the list. Now, before moving any further, what we have to do is we have to check that our settings allow us to do live trading using Expert Advisors. So first thing to check is go to your menu where it says Tools, go to Options, and you will see a few different tabs over here, and you click on Expert Advisors. Make sure that you do not have Disable Automated Trading when the profiles has been changed. It's not checked. Because otherwise, if you move from one profile to another one, your Flexi Grid will be disabled. Some people have this one off as well. So when they are moving from one account to another, it doesn't disable their Flexi Grid. Okay, so I will have only this one on. That's my preference. I will click OK. The next thing is to make sure that you have auto trading button enabled. Now, I have seen a few cases where people don't see that auto trading button. In that case, what you have to do, you go to the menu over here where it says View, and you see Toolbars, and make sure that you have all 4 of them checked. All right, so then you will see auto trading button over here, and it has to be green. If it looks like this, it's not on. So we click to have it on. Okay, at this point, we are ready to load Flexi Grid on our chart. And in order to do that, you have 2 ways to load it on your chart. You can either double click the Flexi Grid over here, or you can click and drag it on your chart. Once you release it, you will see a window of settings. But before going into inputs, we will go on Common tab first, and we will make sure that we have Allow Live Trading enabled. It has to have a check mark. Okay, then we go back to inputs, and now I will walk you through the inputs. Now keep in mind that in this case, I will show you what kind of inputs we have to use in order to execute 21 grid trade. Okay, now magic number, we don't do anything with that. Manual grid trading, make sure that it's true because we will be executing trades manually. Okay, so automatic has to be false. Grid trade with horizontal line has to be false, and backtesting false. Now this line is very important. It says grid will open if the market spread is below, and we have to define that number. Now if yours, in this case by default it's 5. So what it means basically, if your spread is higher than 5, you will not be able to execute the trade. So you can double click inside that 5, and you can define whatever spread is okay with you. So just for educational purposes, I will put 2. All right. Slippage, I leave it as it is by default. Now we go to this line where it says grid style. This is very important because we have 3 styles that we can choose from. And for our 21 grid trade, we will choose the style that is 111. So we double click inside and we pick 111. Very important, okay? On this line where it says lot size per pending order, we define the lot size for each entry that we will execute. All right, keep in mind that the same lot size will be on all entries, on limit orders and on stop orders, also on the market execution order. Okay, now pip distance between order in a grid is the distance between each entry. So I will double click and I will change it to 7. So we'll have 7 pips distance. All right, and now this line says how many stop or limit orders per grid. In this case, usually I use only 2, so we have 2 stop orders. Let's say if we are going long, so we have 2 stop orders above the market execution and we have 2 limit orders below the market execution, and I will show you how that looks on the screen. Now this line over here, when we are doing 21 grid trade, we have to define our risk and reward over here. So once this line is true, this line is not active. So it doesn't really matter what number is over here if you are using risk and reward ratio as true. All right. So we have that as true. And also over here, you can base it on either pips or money. And we will do pips because we will define our risk and rewards in pips. Now, keep in mind that risk and reward is a cumulative pips. So let's say if the trend is going against me 14 pips, that would activate 1 order after 7 pips. So 14 plus 7, that is 21 pips against me. And I want to give a little bit of room, let's say extra 3 pips above that line. So that would equal a cumulative 27 pips for my risk. You can choose whatever you like, but usually this is what I have as a cumulative pips. And for reward, as you know, we are going for 21 pips total. Now break even settings, make sure that you set it to false. We don't want it to exit our trade once it goes to break even. And I leave everything as it is by default. And what I would suggest at this stage is save the settings as a template for the first time. So what we do, we go save and we give it a name. I already have as 21 grid trade, so I will do 21-live. I will click save and I will click OK. So as you can see, now it's on my screen. Right now, I will show how to load it on the second screen, and we will load the settings that we just saved. So I drag it on this chart, I release. Instead of changing all the settings, what I do, I go to load, and I choose the one that I saved. It's 21-live. I click open, I click OK. It has all the same settings as the first one, okay? Now, as you can see, once Flexi Grid is loaded on your chart, it will have these buttons at the bottom, and it will have info box over here. Now, we are not able to change the location of the buttons or the info box. We cannot hide it, we cannot move it, we cannot do anything with it. It is as it is. And if you have really small windows, it will cover most of your window, okay? Now let's go through the buttons. Now over here we have break even button and we have use lines buttons. Make sure that 2 of them are red, because red means inactive, green means active. We have to have manual button, green and active. If you click on manual once, you will see it change to automatic. If that happens, you click one more time inside it and it will go back to manual. Okay, make sure it's manual. Now over here, those 3 buttons define the style, the grid style that we have. And as I mentioned before, we have to have it as 1, 1, 1. If the green button is, let's say, 1, 1, 0, make sure that it's 1, 1, 1. If I click here, it becomes green. I go back to 1, 1, 1. Okay. Now over here, those 3 buttons, they are execution buttons. Buy grid if we go long, sell grid if we go short, and close grid if we want to close all pending and executed orders before it actually reaches the risk or reward. All right. Now over here we have info box, and you see this line is constantly moving. This is because this is the line that shows the defined spread that we have defined on our settings window, and on the right hand side it shows the actual spread that you have with your broker on this particular currency pair. At the moment I have open GBP AUD and my spread is like 1.9, so it's changing from 1 to 0.9, and the one that I want to allow is like up to 2. All right. Now we go to this line where it says profit. At the moment it shows zeros, but once we execute the trade, it will be either in green or red, and red if we are negative in pips, and it will be green if we are positive in pips. All right. Now this is risk and reward ratio line, and it shows on the left hand side, it shows what's our risk. In our case we have 27 pips accumulative for our risk, and we have 21 pips accumulative for our profit. Grid style 1, 1, 1. Make sure that this number matches this number with the button. Okay. Now it says grid size by 2 equals 4. That's because we have 2 orders above and 2 orders below. That equals to 4 pending orders in total. Grid space, it shows 0.0007. Basically what it's showing that is 7 pips, because we are GBP AUD. We know that in order to calculate pips, we need to look at the 4th digit after the dot. Okay. If we were on JPY, and I will actually show what it would look on JPY. You see, I just changed to Euro JPY, and as you can see, grid space, it changed to 0.07 because we count the pips as the 2nd digit after the dot. Okay. And I don't, oh yeah, also lot size per order, it shows what kind of lot size you have for each pending and executed orders. All right. So now I will show how to execute the trades. All right. Now let's say that we have done analysis on Euro JPY, and we think that it's going to go long, because I'm only showing how to execute, but I'm not showing you the exact analysis. I'm just saying, let's say we are going long. So what we need to do in that case, we click buy grid. Now I'll show you what happened. You get a message saying that we have executed the trade. We click OK. As you can see in the middle, we have the market execution trade, and it's a buy because we went long, buy grid. Now 2 orders above, we have buy stops, and 2 orders below, we have buy limit orders. So if the trend is going against us, it would activate this entry, and let's say it goes back long, then we would be 7 pips in profit by the time it reaches our first original entry. Okay. And as you can see, as the trend is moving up, we are 2 pips positive. That's why this profit line turned to green. Now, what happens if you decide that you need to exit this trade right now? You click Close Grid. As you can see, it was closed, and you have remaining arrows on your screen. Basically, what these arrows show is where we had our pending orders. Okay, the one in the middle was the market execution, to above, to below. Now, the same way, if we decide to go short, we click Sell Grid. As you can see in the middle, we have sell order that has been executed, and 2 orders above are sell limit orders, 2 orders below are sell stop orders. Now, if you look at your trading over here where it says Trade tab at the bottom on MT4, you see all the trades that have been executed already and the ones that are pending orders. You will see that this initial one is the market execution order that is already active, and we have 4 pending orders. We have 2 stop orders and we have 2 limit orders. Okay, just to keep in mind. And now this grid trade would close automatically without us doing anything once it reaches one of those, either the risk 27 accumulative pips or the reward, which is 21 accumulative pips. Now, one very important thing that I have to mention also, if you run expert advisors on your MT4 station, you have to make sure that your PC doesn't go to sleep and you don't shut it down, you don't do anything until the trades are running. Now, if you place your Flexi Grid over here, you place your order, let's say we have sell order in this case, and we decide that it's time for us to go to sleep and we just close everything, this expert advisor, Flexi Grid, it will not manage our trades anymore. And all the trades that are executed over here, they would be still running because they are running on our broker server already. So you would get a surprise the next morning. You wake up, you turn on your MT4 station and you see that you are in a huge negative or huge profit. Like it could be anything, you know, because once you open your MT4 again, the expert advisor, in this case Flexi Grid, would get activated as well. So keep in mind that if you have any expert advisors running on your MT4 station, you have to have it open all the time. Okay. Now this is how we install and how we place Flexi Grid on a PC. And now I would like to show what Mac users have to do with the installation of Flexi Grid. And because I'm not a Mac user, I will actually show Majesty's video that she has done. It's a very short, nice video, and she shows how to install Flexi Grid on a Mac. Let me open this video. Michael, is the sound okay? Can you hear Majesty's voice if I play it on that volume? Or should I increase the volume?
I can't hear it yet if you're playing it.
I just stopped it right now, but maybe I will increase the volume a little bit.
I can't hear it. Turn it up.
No?
No.
Okay, let me turn it off more. How was that?
Still can't hear it. I would say turn it all the way up to 100.
Okay. My child is sleeping in the other room. I hope he doesn't wake up. Okay, let's go with 100. I'll go to the beginning.
I would say turn it all the way up to 100.
Hey, Rom, if you have it playing, it is still low. I can't hear it on my end.
Yes, I am playing it. I don't know how to make it any louder because that's the maximum. It's quite loud on my end. Maybe because it's playing from my PC, that's why it's the volume is lower on your end.
Yeah, we might have to just go to something else. It doesn't seem like it's going to be loud enough.
All right, so we'll skip that step, I guess. All right, so I will go back to the presentation. Here I have pointed out all the steps that I have showed you before on how to install it, what points to check to make sure that auto trading is enabled and that we can have Flexi Grid managing our trades. Yes, and make sure that you have a smiley face in the top right corner. Michael will show that as well. Here we have a slide on the settings that I went through, and also different grid styles. And from here, actually, I will stop sharing my screen. Michael, are you okay to share screen on your end?
Yeah, I can run mine now.
Okay, so I will stop sharing and you can open from there.
I forgot how to play it. To put it in presentation mode.
At the bottom, you will see a button that looks like, I don't know even what it looks like, how to explain it.
I think I got it. All right, yeah, I got it. Let me start sharing. You stop sharing?
Yes, I stopped sharing.
Let me know when you can see my screen.
No, now, yes, I see something loading. Yes, we are on the screen.
So you can see the 5x5?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So how's everybody doing? Now we're going to show some different grid styles and settings that you can do with your Flexi Grid. I'm going to go over like 3 of them, then I'm going to click to some charts, do a few live tradings and demos so you can see how to do 5x5s, 10x10s, NFP, commodities, indices, a little bit of fun. So this first one is the Flexi Grid 5x5. I actually have a strategy we call the bomb that we use the 5x5 settings for. So this is just a screenshot of where you would enter the settings. These are the important ones. So lot size is whatever your account actually can handle. That will be what your lot size will be there. The second line where it says pip, distance between order and a grid, you would make that a 5. Now the next line where it says how many stops / limit orders per grid, you make that one a 5. So that's why we call it the 5x5. The next one says grid profit target. You don't need to worry about that. Like Ram said, use risk and reward ratio. You have to make sure that's set to true. And the breakdown on pips. The way I do my 5x5, I have my reward at 100 and my risk at 50. So some key details in this screen that's cut off. If you remember when Ram broke down the 3 settings, you leave it at the traditional 111. So with this, you would need price to move 30 pips and you will be rewarded, or your take profit would be 105 pips. So the math at that would be the 30 from the first entry, 25 from your second entry, 20, 15, 10, 5, and it would equal 105. That's what we call the bomb. So I'm gonna show you a live setup of this in a few minutes when I get to the charts. So this is just the settings if you guys wanted to take a picture or a snapshot. If you wanted to do a 5x5, if you're trying to achieve 100 pips of profit off of 30 pips of movement. The next one I'm gonna go over is the 10x10. This is very good for the day trader or swing trader, someone that likes to hold their trades for a few hours or even days. This can make a 100 pip move into 550 pips. It's a very, very powerful grid trade. If you can do this a few times a week or even a few times a day, you can definitely move your account. Similar to the 5x5, you have the grid style of 111 again. And these are the differences. The pip distance between order and a grid will be 10. So it'll be 10 pips apart. Each order will be set. You need how many stops and limit orders will be 10 again, because you want 10 orders. And then you would go down to where it says risk and reward ratio. Make sure that's true. And your risk, I personally put 200. This is something that you can pick for yourself. You can make it a smaller risk and reward, but understand you're going for a swing trade or like a day trade. So you're going to be in the trade most likely for a few hours. So it does need some, I guess you could say, drawdown, because you're going to be in multiple entries. So don't make this number too small or you will be stopped out. And the reward would be 550 pips. That is what you want Flexi Grid to stop at once you achieve the 100 pips of movement. So again, if you do the math, the market execution will give you 100 pips. The first entry 10 pips apart would award you 90. The second will do 80. And the third from that one will be 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, and 10. Add that together, that gives you 550 pips of movement, a very powerful move. Then I'm going to break down NFP. So a lot of people I've seen Clint trade NFP or just news in general. To trade news, you have to do something called straddling. So in this one, I'm going to break down a different setting. So in normal times that you use Flexi Grid, you use the setting 111. But if you want to straddle trade, you use the setting 110. The difference between 111 and 110 is, if you remember the video Ram just went over, she had limits at the bottom. This one, as you see the screenshot, will show you sell stops below your market execution and buy stops above your market executing. So kind of like the saying, straddling the fence. You're actually straddling price action. So depending if price goes up, you will be put in stop orders above. If price was to go down, you will be in sell stops below. So now when you use the news and you do this, it's a great way to not know which direction the news will be going. And when it decides to go up or down, it will put you in the proper direction. The only drawback with Flexi Grid, which I will show you when I go to live charts, is you are always entered in a market execution. So unfortunately, there is no way for us to get rid of the market execution. And when you trade news like NFP, or even like today, there was, what is it, FOMC, I think, with US dollar, we don't know what direction it's going. So when we hit buy grid or sell grid, we want to delete that initial market execution instantly. So when I usually do straddling, I wait till the final 10 seconds, which I'll kind of do a little countdown and you'll see me do it. I press the button and then I immediately exit off the market executions. Now, it usually takes about 5 to 6 seconds from start to finish, depending on how many charts you have open, to exit off the market execution so you wouldn't be put in the wrong direction. So let me just get through these slides and then get to some fun. So I'm going to go to my MetaTrader 4, which I already have queued up. And I'm going to start with gold because my boy Dre, who's running it, is the gold king, is like I like to call him. Gold has been extremely powerful the last few days. And when you trade different things in commodities, indices, and Forex, they calculate pips different. So you have to know how to put in your settings properly. So there's 2 ways to get to your settings. You can hit the F7 key on your keyboard, or you could just press the smiley face. I always hit the smiley face. When you press the smiley face, you will see your settings pop up, and this is your settings. So now when you trade commodities or indices or anything that calculates their pips in points, you have to add a 0. So first thing will be spread. Most of the indices and commodities have a larger spread than regular Forex. So usually when I trade gold, I have around a 20 to 25 pip spread on mine. Again, I leave it at the regular grid style. For this example is 111. The order entry size, I'm doing an 02. So, and then this is where you have to remember to change it when you trade stuff like gold, silver, oil, or US 30. Pip distance has to, I want it 5 pips apart. So when it's a point system, it has to be 50 here. So 50 points is the equivalent of 5 pips. So I'm still doing a 5 by 5, so I leave this as a 5. And then I jump down to my risk and reward. When I do a bomb trade, I'm trying to get 100 pips. So again, it's in points, so I have to add a 0, so I have to put 1,000 here. And my risk is usually 50 pips, but again, you have to add a 0. So now, so you don't have to do this all the time. The best thing to do is to go to save, and you name it something. As you see here, I have different settings. I use Flexi Grid exclusively when I trade now, so I have settings for all types of things. So let's say I wanted to name this gold 0.02, and you can hit save. So now every time if I wanted to do the bomb trade and I wanted to do it on gold, I can just go to load, and whatever I just named that would be where it's at, gold 02, and I hit it. So I just press something else just so I could change the settings. You see the settings changed. I go to load. I want to do my regular bomb trade, a 5 by 5 on gold. I click here. It automatically populates them back. You hit OK. Now, if you're doing your analysis, let's say you think gold right now looks like it's making an M pattern, and I'm in a W, it might be going up. You simply just hit buy grid. Like Rom said, you see the box come up here in the corner. Open up my terminal down here at the bottom. There we go. And you will see that you have the orders pending. So depending on what it's going to do. I'm gonna leave that one running and go show you a different currency. So what else do I have up? I have an indice. I have the S&P 500. So right here, I'm gonna do a straddle. So like, let's say it's the first Friday of the month, you want to trade NFP. So again, you do the smiley face. This is an indice, so it's similar to the commodities, it's in points. So you have to add a 0. I have to look at what my spread is. And normally with news, your spreads get ridiculous. So that's why I would put something large like 100. Now I want to straddle. So here you have to double click. It's a drop down box. You have to go to 110. I want to play the news and I want it to enter in 10 orders. So I put a 10 here and I want them to be separated by 10 pips. So again, I have to add a 0. So you make this 100. You jump down to your risk and reward again. I want a reward of 100 pips. So I make that 1,000 and I'm willing to risk 50 pips because it's an indice. I make that 500. Now you hit OK. So you see this is going up blue. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see it. It's starting to shoot up. So let's say that was news. I hit buy grid. I'm going to put the buys above. Oh, actually, you know what? I forgot one thing. That's a good example. So just because you set it here and it says 110 here, you see my screen, that is good. I'm glad that error actually happened. It's still showing that 111 is active. You have to make sure that 110 is actually green here. Or it would actually do what it just did, would put buys above and buys below, which I didn't want it to. That can happen to you. So my first step I do when I trade news is open up my terminal, and then I hit, I say, like I said, I'm thinking it's going to go up. I hit buy grid. I instantly go right here and close it. Got to accept this, and then that goes away. That automatically closes it. So let me get this off the screen so you guys can see. Then if you can see my screen, this says buy stops above where price is, sell stops below. So normally it moves a lot faster. You'll see price start shooting up and it'll put you in the right direction. So I'm gonna do it one other time, see how fast you can do it. Maybe you guys could count seconds to see how long it takes. You know, news is dropped. News is coming in, 10, 20 seconds. You hit buy grid, you go right here, close it off. How long did that take? Probably, I don't know, 2-3 seconds. That's how you do NFP or any type of news when you want to use Flexi Grid and you want to straddle. Because unfortunately, there's no way to end the market execution. It would always do it. So you have to exit it off. And you're going to lose, a few pips. But with news, if anybody's ever profited off of news, you're probably going to make it back in a few seconds. So that's how you do straddling with that. Then I show US 30, which seems to be everybody's hot pair. Our fearless leader, Mr. Courtney Logan over here, he's the US 30 king. So US 30, the settings, I kind of already presetted them because I play around in US 30, but I'm gonna just show you the settings. The spread is very large, it's 50 pips. And if it's news or something like that, it could be large. So I usually just make my spread double, which is 1,000. When I trade US 30, I use 111. Actually, for an example, I'm actually going to show you what 101 does, which is a hedging. The distance between depends on how far you want them apart. I have a 60 here, which would actually only be 6. And then I have 2 because I only want 2 orders pending. My reward and risk, I have 2,100 and 2,500. Now I hit OK. Let's look at it. So on a minute chart, let's say it's going to go down. Down, you'll see it open up, and you'll see it go here. The difference between 111 and 101, let's see if I could zoom in close enough so you guys can see my screen. Can I get it so you can see it? Let me lower this down. It's not going to let you see it, so let me see if it shows it here. So. Oh, let me try to do it a different way. So I hit buy this time. So when you hit 101, it's hedging. So you saw that I pressed buy grid. My first market execution does the opposite. It puts you in a sell for the first one, and your pending orders will be buys. So one of my orders is actually going against me, which is making my account extremely negative because it's negative $100 because as you see, the US 30 is going up and it's not going down. So 101, that's a function if you wanted to hedge against you. And like news, US 30 is skyrocketing high. And as you see that I'm in profit, but unfortunately I have this bad trade running that I need to close because I'm hedging. It already closed out in profit, didn't it? It did. It hit my profit that fast. That's how fast US 30 is. It has closed off. Or did I? So that's an example on US 30. And this is regular pairs. You just do a 111 and you do the bomb on a regular Forex pair. It's not in points. So you just have to do a regular 5. 5 again. Your risk and reward ratio goes to true, and you do 50 and you do 100. This is probably my favorite way to trade. I only really do bombs nowadays, so it depends on what's going on. I would zoom in, see what direction I think the market is going to go, and then I just hit sell or buy grid. But again, you have to make sure that your hot buttons, that I call them, like Ram said, anything red is inactive, green is active. So the most important ones to me are these 3. If you're trying to straddle, this has to be green. If you're trying to do a regular Flexi grid, it has to be 111. And only if you want to hedge would you use 101. I almost never use 101. I honestly don't really even straddle. Mine is almost exclusively on 111. And you just hit buy grid. Now, I'm gonna just show a couple examples of certain things you can do. If you want to close your whole grid, you hit close grid and you see it go away. Right now I have running trades on gold and S&P. So let's go back here. I don't like that I am negative. Well, I'm not negative anymore. If I wanted to bank this trade right here, which is $4, and I wanted the rest of them to run, you can just exit it off. Now I have just banked that $4, but my Flexi Grid is still running. So you don't have to close it by pressing the stop grid. If you want to close everything, that's how you close it. But if you wanted to do a 21 grid trade, 5x5 or 10x10, and you wanted to bank the profit or stop the loss that you're taking, you can manually close these at any time. Is another thing. Some other little advanced things you can do. You can see my screen, you see the green lines. You can drag these to different locations. You don't have to leave them. If you want it to change where it is going, you can move it and it will move. If I wanted these to go down because I'm afraid of it retracing on me and putting it into many orders, I can grab them and I can move them. So there are a lot of things that you can still play with and touch on Flexi Grid. Close some of this down. I like to do baskets. So I'm gonna just show you guys how to do a basket and change my profile really quick. Let's go JPY. So this is my JPY basket. And if you wanted to fill out the screen, you just hit this little button right here. Whatever you want to unfreeze so it fills out. Like Ron said, you can't really move the buttons, so they do eat up your screen. I'm not sure if she mentioned it, but this little, my screen is frozen really quick. I'm gonna show you how to move your chart. So as you see, my chart is blocked by a lot of my buttons on my screen. All right, so this triangle right here can move the chart over, and then you just like on TradingView, if you press it here, you can expand or contract so you can see, I can actually see what's going on now by doing that. So when you do a basket, so you can see which direction you want to do the basket in. So I want to go long on all 3 of these. So I want to double check my settings. So because this profile has already been set up, all of my settings are already set for a 21 grid trade. My pips, my risk and reward, 17 and 21. They're 7 pips apart. There's 2 orders and there's a micro lot size with a spread of 5. All of them already have that because this is what I used to do when I was practicing a 21 grid trade. You just hit the buy grid button on all 4 of them. And now I am, as you can see in the little info box right here, if I spread it out, you see buy grid on CJ, AJ, GJ, and EJ. So I have a basket running at the same time. And I'm just going to show you some of the info box, which is good to read. It shows you your profit in US dollars. I am negative 1 pip on AJ, and it tells you how much you are in US dollars. This little indicator that we added to our charts shows me my accumulative total on all 4 of my running trades. So right now I'm negative $11 and I'm negative 13 pips overall. So it's showing me everything that's running, but each chart that you click on will show you exactly what it is doing. So let's go to a different chart. This is what I'm negative on CJ. CJ seems to be the one that is beating me up the worst right now, $6 here. And then when I go to EJ, as you see that I'm only 1 pip down that one, and GJ, again, it's that. If I wanted to show them a range that way again, I can go here, and it goes there. So if I wanted to close them, you have the power to go here and see what is running, what is going negative, which pair. You can do them by symbol, so they put them together. Ooh, my CJ must have had different settings because as you see, I should have checked. It entered me at all my price at the same. So let me see something on my CJ. I think I traded news with CJ the other day, so maybe that's why CJ is different. I have a 0. This is another way you can actually use Flexi Grid. I'll explain that one. This is how I actually trade the news. I don't straddle. I do 1-1-1, and I put distance between grid orders as 0. So this actually made all the number of orders I put here market execution. So whatever my risk and reward would be, it will close. So this is a good example because you're probably going to see me lose money and it's going to close, and it did. That's a good example on live. So you can see that it says close grid pip distance RR on CJ. That means my risk and reward, it hit my stop. It went and hit my stop, and then I was negative. So it closed me out, and then negative because it hit the 21 risk and reward that I had set up. So that'll show you when you actually have it set up that it can close out that way. So I actually trade the news a little different. I know I've gotten several questions on trading the news. So I'm gonna use CJ again, and I'm gonna show you my news preloaded settings. So on my news preloaded settings, I use the news a lot. So as you can see, I kind of have it different ways. I'm gonna show you my more aggressive one, which is, where is that one at? I think I just named it the news. So on mine, spread, I pick a 20 because spread goes a little high. When news is there, you leave it at 111. Again, the distance is 0. I do 10 orders because I only want to catch about 25 pips of the movement to get me what I need to get. So again, my risk and reward is 200 and 200, and I hit OK. Me, when I wait for news, I wait for a defined direction. So let's say this is a news candle and it looks like it is going to shoot down. I then hit sell grid, and you don't see a ton of lines like you normally do. You only see the limits behind it and the cells before it. Only way you can tell if it worked is when you open up your grid terminal. As you see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Because it's the market execution plus 10. I have 11 running trades on CJ. So that's how I trade the news. So I wait for a defined direction that it goes. Because I know people have been asking me, and then I hit the button. Right now I'm negative because as you see, it is looking like it's going to wick out and it might continue to go up. So I'm negative 27 pips or $4.73. So I know some people that I've helped with Flexi said they have issues that when they hit Flexi, it doesn't put the orders. If you put the 0, you get all your market execution. If you look at price, they all have the same price. They have all entered at the same price. So if price moved 20 pips in the direction I wanted, I would get a reward of 200 pips times 0.02 or whatever your lot size is. Trying to think of other ways. Ron, you think of any other ways that I've missed that we can use Flexi Grid? Cool.
I think you have covered like quite many different ways.
I'm trying to think of any that I use personally. Those are really the only ones I do. What time frame for US?
Michael, can you explain that line where it says profit if we don't use the risk and reward?
Oh, sure. I actually know what. That's a good one. I will actually use that. You know what? I'll close this trade out. So if you have a goal, let's say my daily goal is not in pips. I want to make $10 US dollars every trade. You click here, you make your risk and reward false. When you make this false, it automatically defaults to this line. This line is US dollars. So whatever numbers here, your Flexi Grid will run until it reaches that number in US dollars. The drawback of using this, there is no stop loss. So when you're trading with this, there's no stop loss. So if I hit OK, actually, you know what? Let's go back. I'm gonna switch profiles. I'm gonna go back to US 30. I wanna pick something fast that I know I could actually show it on live that you actually could see what's going on. And as you saw, I switched profiles. I have running trades still on this one because I'm negative. Something is running somewhere, I think. What is running? Actually, no, it's not. It's the other chart. Let's go to US 30. I go to US 30. I turn this one to false. So to turn off my risk and reward. And then let's pick $10. And I'm going to make it put more orders in, so maybe to go faster. Hit OK. And I'm gonna use the 1 minute time frame because it looks like it's selling. I'm not gonna hedge. I'm gonna pick that one and I'm gonna sell grid. So right now I'm negative $77. So let's see if we can get a positive $10 and it'll close. Let's wait a few seconds to see how fast this rocket ship can take off.
Sorry, Michael, just one question. I noticed that you have grid style as 101, but you clicked on the button 111.
Yeah, you talking about the info box and then the active box?
Yes.
You're right. It's still hedged on me. Thank God for demo accounts. Think I should buy or sell, Ron? Tell me which direction to go.
Let's go buy.
I'm gonna go buy? All right, we go buy. Let's see if you got better luck for us. Doesn't look better, Ron. Negative $60, Ron. All right. Let me see what else I have running. Anything else moving? S&P. The time frame I'm using on the US 30, I see somebody asked the question, is the 1 minute. But as you see, the dangers of using not risk and reward. I'm trying to win $10, and guess how much I'm a negative? I'm negative $250. Now, if you had risk and reward with a proper stop loss, it would have stopped me out. Now you're praying that it actually goes in the direction I need it to go, because my account might not be solvent enough to take this kind of a loss. But let's hope it goes up. Yeah, I'm going to stop it. So I'm going to close it because it's just eating away and it's not doing what we want. So we picked the wrong direction. So if you use this setting, which is the grid profit target, understand that you have no loss. And I've never really used it, to be honest, but it is a function if you want to make your reward a US dollar amount, $100, $50, $20. You can do that. I like to use true and use a stop loss and a reward. Actually, let's try to straddle the US 30. I'm gonna change my lot size. That's why my account is going crazy. I have a $1 lot size. So again, now I'm doing the 110 function. I can't zoom in any closer, but Rob, can you see the word stop or sell stop on the buy stop on the other side? It kicked me out that fast.
I could see, but very unclearly, but I could have see a little bit.
I really am all set.
But I'm on Zoom, not on Facebook Live, so I don't know how.
That's true. Really all we have for Flexi Grid I showed commodities, interest, the 10 by 10, the 5 by 5, news. Trying to think anything else I use it for. I think the biggest thing I like to tell people is your settings. You could figure out whatever pip goal you want. Let's say your daily goal, I'm gonna go to a regular Forex pill. If your pip goal a day is 50 pips, there's a lot of functionality with the Flexi Grid. If you only wanted to enter 3 trades, you could put 3 here. If you wanted the distance to be 2, 1 pip, 20 pips, 50 pips, you can do whatever you want. The 5 by 5, the 21 grid trade, the 10 by 10, they're just ideas to get you to think. I believe we have this guy in one of my teams, Justin, he uses it, and I think he has 3 orders, and he goes after like 40 pips or 50 pips. He doesn't go after 100. So it's whatever fits your trading plan and your trading style. I always tell people, go into a demo account and play with the numbers, and you'll find out that you can do a lot of things with Flexi. My 5 by 5 bomb strategy came from a conversation with my other captain, that we stumbled upon another way of using Flexi Grid, which has been extremely profitable for a lot of our cohort members and traders. And it came through talking. So there's other ways of doing it. I was looking at maybe switching up for a 50 to 60 pip movement to get like 200, 250 pips. I'm playing with other ways of using Flexi Grid. But those are basically some of the advanced ways you can use it other than doing a 21 grid trade, the 5 by 5, the 10 by 10, how to do news if you straddle, or if you want to do my function of using no space, putting a 0, and the distance heart right here, you putting a 0, me being pretty reckless and doing a 10 right here. And let me try to add zeros because this moves so fast, I don't want to get kicked out too fast. And I still have it on straddle. Make sure these are green, and you could do them all on the US 30. You can't see the lines there, but eventually it should. You didn't enter them all. That's interesting. But Courtney, that's basically all I have for you guys.